started by, uh, you know, there are a couple of ways I do interviews. The one is there's a structured way and there's an unstructured way. This is going to be like a mix of both. The reason why we're mixing both is essentially because there's no job specification, and I'm trying to align your experiences too. So, how's your day been?
Hi, good evening, Chinedu. My day was been good.
Great. Um, Weather? Was it too cold? Did it rain or did it not rain where you are?
Mm, Yeah, it's just a fair weather, right? So, Lagos and heat, but what can we do? We'll have to manage. Yeah.
We survived. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, could you please walk me through your CV? I
Mm,
mean, I do have it here open. If you see me looking on the other screen, I'm not ignoring you. I'm trying to look at your CV. But could you
mm,
please give me like
mm.
a very quick summary of what your experience and what your CV talks about you?
All right. Thank you so much, Chinedu, for that. So I will just introduce myself. I guess that's what you're asking me, correct?
Yes, that is correct. Please go on.
All right. So my name is Ayo Adibowale, and I'm a product manager with 2 years of experience um, in the HR tech space, literally, right? So recent times, I've been able to develop a deep understanding of product offerings, leading to the improved customer satisfaction and 25% increase in product adoption, right? And my top skills include team leadership to achieve the company's visions and commercial objectives, and the excellent ability to manage tasks and projects efficiently to this highest standard.
Sweet.
So
So yeah, sorry. I thought you were done there. But go on.
yeah, so that's a little about me, right? So don't know if I was able to answer that question.
Yeah, you did. That was a good place to start. You did mention that you helped a business increase onboarding by 25%, right? Did I hear
Yeah,
that?
yeah, yeah.
Could you get into the details of that? Could you walk me through exactly what you did, and how you were able to help the team and the business get that number?
Mm. All right, cool. Thanks so much for that question. Right, the idea was we had a product that we had our customers, because ideally, let me just make you understand what it looks like. So my target audience are the HR managers, right? So we have a lot of features that make their life and their work processes more easier, right? So I, as a product manager on the team, what I did was at my stage of onboarding when I joined the organization, I had to take my time in understanding the product, make sure that every product that I get to meet with, I get to understand every of the product so that I'm able to help in training the users on the boarding, and also doing the product of support. So literally, for context, my role, because of the stage of the organization, the group stage of the organization, it's a startup, and I also had the ability to was able to wear different hats, so which include product trainings and product demonstrations to new clients, and also onboarding new clients as well. So what I did was, for a product that we had, we created sometimes back recently, which was a product that helped the users to be able to customize the notifications based on their preference in terms of their company's policy, so that they are able to wish employees birthdays and their work anniversaries. So I, as a product manager on the team, I was able to understand the product, what it does, and how it helps our users understand and meet their needs on the product, at their on doing their work process, doing their work, right. So with that, I was able to give users a deeper understanding of what the feature does for them based on their request. I was able to give them a understanding of what it does, and how they are able to also see the need of using the products to able to meet their needs. Yeah, so ideally that's what I was able to do. So with that number, with that understanding, it was able to increase the adoption of that product basically because it was a new feature that they didn't even had an idea about what it does before now, before when I had their understanding and had to train them on what the feature does. Yeah, so that was how I was able to go about helping that helping with
Yeah,
that aspect.
so sounds very brilliant. I mean, onboarding is one thing, yeah. So onboarding is obviously user facing. You've helped the users, and you've helped the business increase the like improve the onboarding rates. How would you? What impact would you say it has on the business overall?
Yeah, so I want to ask a follow-up question. Can
Yeah,
I?
that's all right. Yes, sure,
Yeah.
definitely, please.
When you say onboarding, yeah, onboarding is a very key impact on users, right? So I want to understand what you're trying to ask so that I'll be able to um, customize my question and my answer towards that question.
Yeah, so I'm just asking based off of the conversation that we're having. You know, you did mention that the work that you did helped
Mhm,
increase and improve
mhm,
onboarding by 25%. Right.
mhm,
So
mhm,
um, with that, you're saying, hey, if you have, if you initially had 100 people come in, will help bring the number to 125. But
mhm.
in terms of increasing that onboarding, how would you say that improve the actual business itself? Does it have an impact on the overall business, or is it just we'll have 25 new people but no impact on the business? That's what I'm trying to get from you. Does that make sense?
Oh, trying to. What I would say is that the feature was there for them, but they've never had an understanding of what it does, and they never
Mhm.
adopted it because they never knew how to use it. So I noticed based on the metrics, I was able to see the patterns of users based on how they go about the software, right? So that way, I was able to know that this was a feature that was not well understood enough based on their what's it called now, based on what they have an idea about, right? So what I did was I had to carry out a user interview to understand where the users are having knowledge gaps with, right? So with that, current users that we had then, so they're the ones that they had those knowledge gaps. So right. So what I did was I had to just create a help video, right, that gave them literally a breakdown step by step process of how the product works. And those ones that I couldn't, they couldn't understand based on the what's it called now, the video. Then what I did was I had to now have a call, one-on-one call with them to now understand on further questions that they had. So with that, correct the existing users adoption on the product increased. So by what we had before on the what's it now on the product. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. That would helpful. So just
Sorry, but
just on
does
that,
that answer the question?
yeah, I think it gives me an insight into the work that you did. Yeah, I think I would say it was helpful to get me to closer to what I wanted to get out of you. But yeah, we're making some progress. Uh,
All right.
so when you look at just based off of that experience and the work you've done in the product, what are some of the principles? You have any product principles or any things that you hold to heart that helps you build better products?
So when you mean product principles, can you give more context?
Yeah, so you know how there's certain things that you do when you wake up every single morning. Brushing your teeth is one of them, right? One of the reasons why you brush your teeth is you want to be healthy, right? You want your gums to be healthy. So those are the kind of principles that helps you live a healthy life, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when you take that over to products and you say, hey, I want to build very fantastic product that have huge impact, and there's some things that you keep at the back of your mind while you're building product that helps you improve on building the right
I
product.
can anyone hear me?
Yeah,
Yeah, sorry, I think I lost you at some
I
point.
think I
Trying
lost you at
to
some
can you hear
point.
me? I
I
don't know if
can
you
hear you
want
now.
to.
What's the last thing you heard?
Yeah, so I just the part where you said So brushing your teeth and then on a product, that's where I cut off. The network had a little glitch.
Yeah. What I'm saying, as part of being healthy, you do certain things
Mm,
to keep your body and your health being a very good
right,
health. And part of
right,
that, like I
right.
said, I'm using the example of brushing your teeth, which keeps you healthy,
Yeah,
keeps your gums very healthy, keep your teeth healthy, and
right,
improves your overall well-being. Right. So the
right.
question I'm asking is, the key goal for you when you brush your teeth is really to be healthy and be safe.
Mm, mm,
When you think of it in terms of product, the key goal for you is to build very impactful, great products. And there's some
yeah,
fundamentals or principles that you hold dear to your heart that helps you get to that point in your product
yeah.
building.
Yeah, so what I do is, customer feedbacks are very key, right? So I also gather users' data, right, based on users' behavior and their escalation. So what I do is, ideally, I work with the customer support, and I get to understand the ticket escalations that we have on the ticket board. So what I do, once I get those informations, then I pick up one of the one of the tickets based on the customer request, and then I call the customer, try to understand the feedback, the escalations, try to understand more context to ask why this
Yeah,
user is going through this process, right? So once I identify the reason why this user is going through that process or experiencing that challenges, then I take I gather requirements, I write the documentations regarding that user stories, document that information. Then I reach out, we revert back to the team. Then we come together and brainstorm on the ideal solution that needs to be implemented to help what's now to help the user to meet the user's needs based on the feedback, the request, or the escalations that they've made request. So what I do is I work with the customer support, then gather user feedbacks through one-on-one call, interviews. Then I reach back to the team, and then we have a brainstorm session. I also put in the documentations, and then we build the product, and then I test with it. Yeah. So
yeah,
that's my process.
yeah. That's a fantastic process. Just on customer reviews, you did mention that you speak to customers, you speak with customer
Yeah.
experience team, and then
Yeah.
you get a feedback. How do you validate those feedback? How do you know, okay, this is the right thing
Yeah.
that we're building? What steps do you take? Are there steps that you take? Are there processes that you go through that helps you know, okay, I'm building the right thing and I'm building it for the right people?
Yeah. So what I do is once I get a request like that, the first thing I comes up to my mind is market research to understand if this feature is a product that is out there in the market. Look at what it does, how it helps our competitors, how their users are complaining about that. Then but the first process I go about is I speak to the user, try to understand the complaint. Then I carry out the market research, try to understand if this product feature is out there, why it's not out there, then the understanding of what I can do or what we can do to help improve the process or the workflow of this user. Then ideally that's what I do at that process. I don't know if I remember that question now, but I hope this answers the question.
Yeah, it does. I mean, fundamentally, when it comes to product, there's essentially many roles that gets you to the market. I think it's important to know that there's no wrong or right answers. It's just about what really works and gets you the results.
Oh, okay.
Um, so if you're to talk about product management, so like a 5-year-old, how would you approach that?
Yeah, good question. Yeah. So if I'm to tell a 5-year-old, right, how product management works or what it is about product management, what I would say is that, so I will just put a picture of, you see, so let me just think a minute. I'm coming.
Yeah, take your time. Sure.
coming. All right. So still trying to get out my thought though, but what I would say is that um um 5-year-old. Right. Okay. So the way I will explain if to my mention a 5-year-old is that I would just try and make him see that okay, so for example now you have a Lego what's it called now? You have a Lego toy store, toy story, or this toy Lego toys that they play with, right? So I will take him as a product manager who is in the middle, and then try to connect those departments. So I will use those what's it called now? Those toys, each of those that makes up the Lego, each of them, put them together, and that in bringing them together, then joining them, trying to build a building or whatever it could be, or a mansion, whatever he wants to build. So him as himself coming together to break that toy to put up together to build something is the product manager himself is the product manager. Then those other components, those toys that those things that he picks up, picks this one together just to build up what a mansion, or maybe you want to build a car with that toy, those other department that makes up the team members that the product manager works with to build up the product, right? So I would give him that understanding that this a product manager is him mutually coming together, coming to pick up those toys and then building a car for himself with that Lego toy. So that's what how I would explain product management to him or a 5-year-old. Yeah.
Yeah, great, helpful. So I'm just looking at your CV here, and you did mention that you own and maintain product backlog, ensuring
Yeah.
clear prioritization of features and enhancements. Could you walk me through how you prioritize?
All right. So I prioritize based on business goals and the what's it called now, the current business goals that we are actually having during that period. So what I use is sorry, for context before I proceed, are you talking about the framework or about the factors that are in place before we are prioritize? Just for
It,
context.
it doesn't matter whether frameworks or the approach that you take. However, I want to understand the process that you normally do go through when you prioritize your features and your enhancements.
Okay, so what I do is actually company goals, right? So the business goals for that particular period. So it could be that we are actually increasing the number of employees. So what I do is I factor those kind of goals based on the product feature that we are currently working on. Is this product going to acquire more users for us, or is just going to um, increase the revenue that we currently have, right? So based on the company goals of that particular period, and then the users' needs, basically that's what I use in factoring out prioritization methods. And then the prioritization method I basically love using is the RISE, which impact, confidence, and effort, right? So with this I'm able to now segregate those in each number of users that we are trying to acquire with that product launch feature that we are building. And then the impact that it's going to have on our users is going to be high impact or low impact. Then I now take off to the effort that's going to be taken to build the product. If it's going to be less effort or an high effort we use. So ideally, the first factor I mentioned is that the company goals, then the user's satisfaction are those two I use in factoring the prioritization.
Can you walk me through an actual example of, these are the user goals, and this is what my reach is, and this is what my impact is, and my confidence, and then therefore that is required to deliver? Can you walk me through an actual example of something that you built that you use this method and got you to the end?
Okay. Okay. So there was a product I worked on, which is the direct salary payment, right? So it was a new feature that we created some times back, and what we did was, because of currently our our goal was to increase revenue then, right? So uh, what we had to do was that I had to look at the product feature to make sure that, okay, the effort that will be used in creating this gathering from external APIs, which was another thing, right? So the reach for this product was the number of users that we are looking at acquiring based on this new feature launch, right? Then the impact was the request based on employee, request based on our current users' feedback on the product, right? So there was an high impact on that. There was an high impact on that feature. So we had to prioritize that. Then the confidence of it being a successful product, right? So we had a confidence based on the market research, and we knew that this product was something that it's going to help our users to manage their time efficiently and also resources as well too. So then the effort was for the build of how the product will be built on the implementations and every needed that needs to be taken into play for this product based on the feedback from the developers, right? So I had to understand the effort that will be taken into building that product, right? So even though it was not a less effort, but at least most of it had some things that could already be in play that we could just build upon and then get the feature out and be tested with our users. So that was one of the products I used with the salary payments. Yeah.
Great. That was a helpful insight into how you build products. I just have one question regards, have you ever been in a situation where, as a product manager, I think for the most part, all of us have either been in this situation or not, but have you ever been in a situation where you're pulling your vision and your strategy and your roadmap towards one particular feature and you think this is what your user wants? However, there's some other stakeholders that don't think that's exactly what you should be building, and that's not what you should be prioritizing. Have you ever been in that kind of situation? If you have, can you walk me through how you were able to convince those stakeholders to align with your own priorities and build towards for the future?
All right. So just for understanding, you're asking if I've been in a situation where I was trying to work on we are trying to work on a product, but a stakeholder had to challenge that product development and right, correct? Is that what you?
Well, not necessarily challenge it in terms of, so there's you and there's another stakeholder, for instance, right? So you're going, hey, we should build a dashboard for the user. And then the other stakeholder is going, no, we should build an API for the user, right? Have you ever been in those situations where everyone have conflicting priorities, but then you have to convince that stakeholder to go, we should be building the dashboard? If you have, can you walk me through how you were able to do that?
Okay, I'm trying to think of a scenario where that had happened. I'm trying to think. Um, okay, so so there was actually a time when there was actually a time when we were working on so we're working on some bugs, right? Fixing some bugs on the product, right? And based on the feedback we had from one of the stakeholders, he was saying, cause one of our customer support, tech support rather, I would just say, so it was a tech support manager trying to make us understand that that based on his last feedback with the users, that they are actually asking for us to be able to, for them to be able to, so there is a module called the performance management module, which helps them
Yeah.
to be able to put in attachments on their performance appraisals to back up every user's employees claim based on their KPI goals that has been set for them at the quarter, right? So at that time we were working on fixing those bugs, right? But there was this request from one of our tech support manager, and he was saying that currently what we have currently on board is that we are having this fixed request. It's in large um, it's an impact that has a large effect on our products that users are really asking for that product. So what I did was I had to understand the reason why these users are actually requesting for that product launch or that product feature to be initiated for them at that time. And what I had to do was that as the product manager on that team, I was responsible to speak with the customers as well, the users as well on that thing, on that product, on that what's it called, or about that product, to let them understand why they are asking for that request, right? So once I was able to understand why that product was something that they could work with. So ideally, before then, we had a product that a thing that had also a way around it that they are able to put in the attachment, but they say that they want it to be that every employee user should be able to put an attachment on each of his KPI goals, backing his claim on how he was able to meet that target for that quarter. So I was, as a product manager, I was able to help in speaking the money with the users, trying to give them a way around it, but it feels like as if that the product was not helpful to them, that they wanted that a thing like that. So what I did was I just had to pause what we are doing. We had to just work on that product, so try to see that if it's something that is going to cut across all of our users. So we had to just build the product and try to understand if it was a low effort or a high effort product. Yeah, so that was basically what I did as the product manager on that team then. So um, I don't know if that was able to answer that question, but
Yeah, it did. I mean, it did get close to sort of answering the question for me. So yeah, you should big yourself up. That was a good response. And so I see here that you're really skilled in writing requirement elicitation, like sorry, user stories and requirement documentation. Could you,
mm,
if someone comes to you and goes, "Hey, what is the structure that makes up a good user story?" Well, how would you explain it, and what would that structure look like for you?
yeah. So a structure that makes up a user story must be
A good
concise, must
user
be
story. A good
yeah,
user
a
story.
good user story. Yeah, it must be concise and it must be able to give the detail of what the user is trying to perform, the end goal of that user, right? So it must be concise and try to give the end goal of that user of actually going through the process of that feature of that product, right? So it must be concise and also be able to literally give a pointer to the end goal of what that product is meant to achieve for that user while using the product. Yeah.
So, I mean, from your experience and some of the conversations we had, you've talked so much about how you've worked. Like, it showed me that you've worked with a couple of technical teams, both whether it's engineering or UX. Could you walk me through some of the ceremonies and how you help both the engineering team, UX team to stay on track and deliver exactly how they should deliver?
Yeah, so documentation is what I use. So basically, to help deliver a product, what I do is I make sure that the product documentations are well detailed enough for better understanding. And then what I now take afterwards is during the Scrum meetings, I try to speak with each of the stakeholders, try to make them understand what we are trying to build and what the feature is meant to work with and what is meant to do for our users, right? So ideally with that what's it called now, with that ceremonies, I'm able to give them more context to what we are trying working on as well too. So then we talk the product documentations as well, so I share with the team members so that everyone gets aligned with what we are trying building as well too. So with product documentations and follow-up meetings like scrums, daily, weekly stand-up. My organization, we actually hold a weekly stand-up. So we hold a weekly stand-up where everyone comes together. Then we get, as a product manager, I get everyone aligned with the feature that we are currently working on for that sprint period and make them understand the purpose of why we are building that feature. Yeah.
And you talked some that we've had this conversation for some time, and we talked about features and building features, and you measure those features. But how do you define success at the point of building the feature? Like, you start building the feature and you're going, hey, this is how I will know that this feature has back, or this is how I will know that this product I'm building has back. How do you define it from the very early stage?
So is it at the set of the launch or before the product is being developed?
Obviously before the product is being developed.
So how do I define the success of that feature, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
What are some of the success metrics or the success criteria that you kind of define, and how do you go about defining those things?
So one is customer retention and net promoter score, which is top rates from 1 to 10 to understand how that product or that feature is able to rate the user satisfaction, CSAT as well too. So I'm able to use the customer retention, the revenue that the feature is going to generate for the business, as well as also the net promoter score and the customer satisfaction. Yeah. So those are the success metrics I use in measuring the success of a product launch before launch. Yeah.
Is that like, are you saying that every single feature must meet each of these points that you mentioned, like customer retention, NPS?
Yeah. So basically, right, based on the goal that we are actually working on, or based on the purpose of the goal of the organization at that time, and the purpose why we are building that product, right? So, but above all, is always that the company's goals that are always key in these decisions, in understanding if it's going to be a success of the adoption rate as well. So if it's going to be a product that we're actually looking at the numbers of adoption of how many users that we are able to onboard on that product, and also the number of revenues that we're able to generate on that product. So an example, it was the direct salary payment feature, which I made mention of, right? So that was one of a feature that because of the goal of the organization at that time or that quarter, right? So we actually had to look at the revenue that will be generated from that product development. Yeah.
Great. So if you have like, I mean, we are product managers, we all deal with engineering teams a lot, don't we? So say you have an engineer within the engineering team that doesn't, in your opinion, deliver as quickly as they should be delivering. How would you address that kind of problem?
So, but the first thing I would try to understand is why these employees, sorry, so why this engineer is having these blockers. I would like to understand, have a one-on-one call session with this engineer, try to understand the blocker that he or she is going through, or maybe it could be in terms of work, or maybe there are some explanations based on the product documentation is not well defined enough for him or her. Then if I also look at that, then the next step I would like also to look at is that whatever challenges he might be going through, to understand what this engineer or the developer is facing through at that time that it might delay the product launch, or that they made the product development rather. So the product development or at that time period. So I have to look at those criteria. So, but what I would do first is try to have a one-on-one call session with this developer, try to understand what are the things that he or she needs, or what are the challenges or he or she, this developer is going through that might be a blocker for him or for her on their product development that has been assigned to work on.
Okay. Could you pick one feature or product that you've worked on, anything that you've worked on that you think that has like you would consider as the best product that you've ever worked on, right? Now, let's walk through what you've done in that and the impact that product had, and then walk me through your learnings from delivering that product or feature.
Hmm, hmm. Okay. So please, can you take that question again, please? Just for
So,
clarity.
I mean, you've had a fantastic career. You've built so many products or you've launched so many features, right? I want you to take one that you truly, truly love, that you think, oh, this is the highlights of my product of my product career. Take one that you love. Now, what I want you to do when you think about that one is walk me through the step-by-step process of how you deliver that product, the impact the product had. Then when we're done with the impact, I want you to talk to me about what you've learned by building that product or feature and bringing it to the market.
All right. So one product I loved working on because it's more like to me, it's one of the um trying to look for that word now. It's one of the a feature that because of my interest in that feature, it made me love the product feature that we I worked on, which was the direct salary payment. Right. So my development, the development process I worked through was that. So I did it because of, as I said earlier, I work in the startup and I wear different hats. And one of the times I was having a discussion with one of our users and having a product demonstration, right? So based on another pitch, another product entirely, right? In terms of payroll, right? So this user actually reached out, made me understand that if this product, that they'll be looking at having something that helps them to pay to their employees directly without having to leave the screens of the HR software, the HR software, and pay outside it is because of the what's it called now, the network errors and all those whatnot that they experience. So me being the product manager at that time, what I did was I had to try to understand why this user had that request, was actually requesting for that feature. Then, so what I did next was that because of the kind of product that we are currently working on, it's a software as a service and it's custom based. So I had to see that this product was something that will be key for all our users, right? So I had to gather up the requirement documentations, write every information, then write the user stories. And then the next step I had to take was then to reach out to my team members, to the internal stakeholders, to the key stakeholders rather. So I had to give them this feedback based on the user interview, the qualitative and data that we went through. So I had to give them this feedback. Then I shared the documentation with them so that they are able to look at it and also be able to understand why this product is being requested for. So then the next step I took was after the product was being designed, I had to test with the user to see that this meets their needs, the solution that helps them to be able to carry out that pain point based on his request. So, which was the direct salary feature, right? So then what next I did was that then we went when we know confirmed the feedback I iterated based on the feedback that we got during that period. Then I had to reach back to my team and give them the feedback that we had. Then we now had to build on those requirements that has been gotten from the user to build that product to launch, right? So once the product was being launched, I also was in charge of training the users as well to give them understanding of what the screens of what each screen does and how they are able to best make use of that screens on the product direct salary payment down from the wallet to the payment run and also their payroll as well for each of those screens as well. So then the next step I took, sorry, can you remind me the last question? I'm trying to remember now.
Yeah, the learnings. I mean, after all this, and what did you learn?
Yeah. Okay. So the learnings I had from this was that that customer feedbacks at times that you might need to also understand why they are asking for that product. That when they give you a request, when customers make a request, I learned that you need to also be able to test to ensure that that product meets up to the requirement, and not that you built because of you got the feedback, but you're also able to know how to best use the feedback that you get from the users well, so that you are able to now know what they are requesting for. So that's what my learnings was about the product um, feature that I worked on, which was the direct salary payment. Yeah, so that was that.
Yeah, that's fantastic. I have what probably one more, and that would be my last question. Well, I don't know if it's the last one, but one. So here's a scenario: you work in a B2B enterprise solution, right? Organization. Now you have, let's say, customer A is your biggest customer that brings in somewhere around, let's say, maybe 500,000 naira in annual recurring revenue per year. And then you have maybe every other customer. Customer A is the biggest one. Now, customer A has come to you as a product manager that is responsible for this HR. So, and the customer A has gone, hey, we need this functionality. We need you to get this feature into the product. And this, we really need this for our renewal, right? And meanwhile, every other customer that you've had already have, they don't they don't care about that particular feature. They just want something else. And let's say the organizational goal for that particular quarter is we want to increase the number of new logos. So new logos is essentially new customers, right? How will you approach your prioritization? Again, remember that every other customer that you have already have completely new features. Like, sorry, not they have completely new features. They want different features from what your first customer A had. And organizational goal is new logos. How would you approach the
You what?
prioritization and the
Sorry, you
delivery?
what?
New
Sorry, what's
logos.
the
So new
new
logos is new
logo?
customers, new customers essentially. Sorry.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
So um what they want. Sorry, that's my last question. Pick ups, please.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah.
uh, so that how would you approach prioritization and delivering the feature as you go into the next quarter?
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, that's a good question. And so what I'll do is that for that next quarter, right, based on for the previous one, and the request was this, and the user. So what I would like to ask is a follow-up question is that, so this user that has this request is one of our high value clients, correct?
Yeah, the first one, the customer A, it's like your
Yeah,
biggest,
high value clients.
is your biggest customer.
Oh, I see. So and we are looking at increasing the number of users that we have currently on board there. So
Yeah.
so what I'll do is that in terms of boarding new users, right? So because we have a feature request from one of our high value clients. So what I'll do is, as a product manager on the team, is I will try to understand why this feature request, right? So why this feature request? If correct, the features that we currently have, how this feature is able to help them. But if I'm getting a negative response on that, I will try to get them understand that this is a feature that we have, this is what it does, and this is how it helps to give you what you want at that period because of our company goals. So if I get a negative response, so then what next I'm going to do is that we'd have to come together as a team and then think towards we have to think towards how best we are able to understand this customer's request. If it's a effort based, try to weigh the effort versus the value that we have on this feature, right? So since it's an high value, is an high impact, the effort they will be required will be less. If it's an least less effort, right? So what I'll do is I'll just have to put that on our product backlog and see how we can be able to build that feature for our user in the next sprint so that they are able to have their feature in real time. So then I would also do is I have to also communicate that to them, giving them a timeline based on the agreement from the key stakeholders that will admit we've come together to decide when that feature will be developed and for our users. So I will also give them, communicate to them a feedback or a time frame on when they will be having that product. But for that high value client, right, I would always ensure that we prioritize their product on their request on the backlog as well too.
Right. Yeah, that's my last question. Moses, it's I think that should be everything I have. And
Thank
then
you
we're
very
almost out of
much,
time.
Chinedu. Please, you guys, let's give them a round of applause. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you, Ayolua, for that. You, you sounded prepared, like you came for, for an actual job interview. So I think I would love Chinedu to just like in 2 minutes give Ayolua his feedback, and we'll take just one question and we'll call it an evening. So Chinedu, what do you think
Yeah.
about the situation, area of improvement, and all of that?
Oh, yeah. Fantastic work. I think so. The prioritization question, I think you nailed it. I was taking notes. I also think you nailed defining your success metrics. But one of the key things for me in terms of what I think you should pay attention to is how you deliver your message, right? So I'm sure you probably would have heard about the star structure when you give your responses. So you want to talk about the situation, the task, the action that you took, and then the impact. I think one of the things that I always miss in every single response that you give to me is the fact that you almost there's no tangibles, and this is what we want to see. I want to see you do something. I want to see the impact that comes out of that, right? And second thing I want to talk about, don't say, could you repeat it for the sake of repeating it? You have to take note of the questions that are being asked. It's something I noticed when you're giving me your responses. And it's okay to take 2 minutes to think about it. But if you write it down when I'm asking you the question, it makes it easier for you to look back on it and go, okay, yeah, I get it. And then you respond to me in a more structured manner. I think the biggest thing for me is really how you structure your response, right? And yeah, on data analysis steps, I can get into a little bit more nitty-gritties, but it's really about the structure of how you respond. Scenario based, I want you to give me a little bit more example. So when I ask you a question, what you give me every single 5 minutes, generic responses. All right. Again, anybody can read a book, but the best people read books and put them into practice so they can find a way to mix what they've read in books and fix them into an actual delivery. Yeah, you have a very clear understanding of the ceremonies. I think for where you are, that's where you should be. And then one thing I think is really missing is it's you understand the fundamentals of product, right? You just need to be able to mold it and deliver it in a way that is convincing to whoever you're speaking with. Yeah, that's all the response I have. Not to get into strong details, but that's like Moses. I hope that kind of I hope is that helpful to you too? Like, is that helpful in terms of feedback? I know we're almost great.
All right, all right.
Yeah.
He said he said, thank you so much, Nedu. So Olabanji, please, we'll just take only you. Can you unmute and ask a question? Hello, Olabanji.
Hi, good evening. Sorry, I
Good
think
evening.
I raised my hand on mistake. I kind of joined late, so I was
Okay,
not really.
okay.
Yep, sorry. Yep.
All right, no problem. So that said, thank you so much to everyone for joining. Thank you so much, Chinedu, for even joining before most of the community members joined. Thank you, Ayo, for gracing the stage today. I hope that you've been able to pick one or two things. The recording will be up on YouTube later in the course of the week, so you can rewatch them and see areas that Chinedu mentioned. So again, this is the People in Product community, and I would say that we are the leading product community in the whole of Africa. And of course, we are trying our best in the world. And yes, we are a top guy, we are a top community, and we have series of programs lined up. One of them is this interview prep session that you've just witnessed. Actually, if you would love to volunteer, I've dropped the link in the comment section. If you want to be an interviewee, you want to fill in the spots that Ayo was sitting today, you can just fill in this form to show your interest and we'll reach out to you. Also, you can join our community. Like I said, we have a list of programs from time to time. This is bi-weekly, the interview prep session. Next week, same time, the group mentorship session will be happening where we'll bring another top product leader to answer all of our questions for those that are looking to transition, for those that have challenges at work and all of that. Also, every 2 weeks on Saturdays, we hold the weekly check-in call, which I call the Pro Managers Therapy Session, where we rub minds, discuss how our weeks have gone and all of that. Aside from that, please follow us on Twitter, follow us on LinkedIn, and follow us on Instagram. We post programs coming up on our channels. So thank you so much, everyone. It's 8 o'clock already. And yeah, enjoy the rest of your evening.
Bye, folks.
Yeah.
Bye.